What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the House of Holocrons podcast, episode number 73. Thank you all so much for allowing us this lovely little break we got to spend with our families and times just to detach a little bit from the wide world of the web, which we highly suggest everyone do from time to time. And, remember we're humans and all that fun stuff.
And
also,
you're back.
we are back. We are happy to be back. We are less than a week away, if not exactly a week. I think it's 6 days now to Acolyte. And I am super excited for that upon recording this. But by the time this comes out on Friday, we're dealing with like only a few days before the Acolyte comes out, guys.
Yeah.
And that is
Enough for all the spoilers to get out there.
yeah, exactly. And I got to admit, I'm pretty happy with the Acolyte so far, just in that aspect. I know there's going to be a lot of news coming up here very recently, guys, and we're going to be talking a lot about the Acolyte. Before we get too into that, I just wanted to say, like, good job, internet, at not trying to spoil everything all the time, or at least like it got better at people just saying spoiler and then giving a few spaces.
Yeah, you can kind of thank Game of Thrones for that.
Yeah.
That was like, I think that was the first show that the masses kind of took this agreement, like, no more
No
spoilers.
spoiling.
Because there's always spoiler issues before that, but there wasn't like a mass watch show enough where everybody's like on the same page. Like, we need spoilers, stop it.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of spoiling for that show.
Dude, yeah, there was. That was a big one with like the first few seasons, was like who could get online first and spoil it pretty much. And get like it was rage bait. I think it's all just like rage baity stuff because it pisses people off. I mean, you make like 4 people happy and then everyone else is commenting, "Why did you do this?"
Yeah. Well, and the problem with some of those shows is like you don't want to spoil, but you just can't click away. It's like I kind of want to know. At least I am sometimes. It's
right.
It's like, wait, what? What happened?
Yeah. Yeah,
because then you get to be the guy if you watch it with your friends or family, like, oh, by the way, I saw this online.
Yeah, why aren't you screaming?
Why when the show's loading?
Right.
Oh yeah, just to warn you guys, this character dies.
That started like I'm sure people got broken up with over that crap. that was I think you're right. Game of Thrones was really one of those first like big phenomenas of sit at home and watch something, and then the pandemic helped all of that, and that helped all of this, which helped all of that. The pandy. So on to news though. The newest things that we have, of course, we have had a lot of Black Series figures that have been finally shipped. Kiadi Mundi finally has come out of the random void and got shipped out by a lot of the third-party sellers. The Droidica is on its way right now from Hasbro for me, so I'm excited for that one. Expect a review soon. That's going to be an awesome figure. I've seen a lot of good things about it. We've had no big reveals for anything new. We still have no idea what the TVC's HasLab is going to be. Oh, yeah, yes, we do. They spoiled that one. That's the Cantina. But who knows what comes with it.
My Georgica is currently in Kansas City right now, so.
Oh, really?
It's just it's a spot that some of us are familiar with.
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny to point out.
Yeah, they all pretty much go through there.
We weren't expected to get too much news anyways, because we just had a ton of news with May 4th.
Right.
So yeah, we didn't really get we didn't get nothing Black Series new.
Yeah.
Like you said. We didn't get anything TVC as well, did we?
No, TVC's the TVC crowd has not been happy these last few months. They haven't gotten anything announced.
We have plenty of comics. I don't think we've gotten anything announced new yet. But like I said, everything's been just uploaded, front loaded because of May 4th.
Which is also that's kind of why we took the break, because it's like there's nothing to talk about immediately after May the 4th. Yeah, besides Tales of the Empire.
The premium figures did get a couple drops post, and some of that was, and I think the reason why is because they just were spacing it out, because they dropped a bunch at the convention. So if you weren't at the convention and you weren't there, the official announcements for premium figures, we got the Obi-Wan Kenobi Mandalorian armor. It's got the red and gray armor.
Yep. Looks good.
That one's a cool figure. He's still got his lightsaber. It's kind of the later when he kind of impersonated the clones, because the whole Maul.
Yes, he's wearing Death Watch armor. Yeah, Death Watch. Not Death Watch. Yeah, you're right. The Mandalorians. That's what they're called eventually.
Yeah, I don't really consider those Death Watch.
Right.
Death Watch is a bit different. And then we have the Bad Batch Imperial Commando, so it's got the gray lines and everything like that.
Mhm.
Hopefully that means we may get some more Bad Batch. I know we got the main core, but we could see more characters from
Mhm.
the Bad Batch. Maybe like, another wolf or something.
I'm very surprised
Um,
they don't have very many Imperial officers. So
yeah.
Rampart or something like that. That'd be fine. But
Or the one I'd like to see is I'm trying to think of his name is Mayday. Mayday would be
oh
cool.
yeah, Mayday would be a
The
fun
one
one.
with the bandages and
Yep.
stuff. That'd be pretty
Actually,
cool.
fun little Imperial thing. Recently, I'm reading through The Living Force by John Jackson Miller, and Mace Windu is aboard a starship right before Phantom Menace that has a young Veers on it. And it's so crazy that they dropped this little Easter egg of this guy like yelling at this small child, and he's like, "What the heck? Who's that kid?" He's like, "Oh, this is Veers. Veers, go
This
do
is
your
where he gets
job."
it from.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, "Oh my god, it's gonna be General Veers." He literally, the captain says, "Veers, if you keep this up, you'll have a great destiny one day. I feel it." And I was like, "Oh, well, you weren't wrong. He's definitely a good Navy officer."
So then one of the major news is we got one of our six figures from Hot Toys they announced was Anakin and his Jedi starship.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's a big one.
and yeah, if you don't understand how series works, it's a sixth of the real size. So when you get into a starship, this is one of the smallest starships, so it's massive.
It's so big. I mean, like the
Yeah,
HasLab Ghost is like this, but this thing's it's not going to be as wide and fat because Jedi starships are more sleek and
this
forward. But this is going to
is
be a
much
long,
bigger.
yeah, this is going to
This
be a
is
very
I know
long
it's
and
gonna take
wide.
up your whole room.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, there's some comparison. It's big. It's gonna be nuts.
this is going to be on a
Um,
coffee table by itself.
and done by Hot Toys, but not a premium figure. Want to just put it out. They raised some money for Hong Kong Make a Wish.
Awesome.
And they did the Darth Vader. They're like art Darth Vader. They were auctioning them off.
Hmm.
The two premium ones everybody wanted. One was done by Donnie Yen, who
Nice.
was in Andor, and he's also famous for, well, not Andor.
Rogue
The
One. Yeah.
Rogue One. But he's also famous for his acting in Chinese movies,
Bro, Ip
and
Man.
kung fu movies, yeah, and many more.
Oh yeah.
And then there also is another Darth Vader designed by Louis Hu, which we are about to see, I believe. Isn't he in Acolyte?
Let me look that name up. Because if he's from Squid Games, then yes, that is the same guy.
Yeah, I believe that's why they picked him because he's an Acolyte.
Yeah. Hmm. I have to look. There's a good different spelling of names there, but I will continue to search it a little bit. But yes, those are the biggest actors from the area that have been in Star Wars to date. Um, but it's going to be awesome. I feel like that's probably one of the only other things that's like really coming up for any Black Series. I'm sure Hot Toys will eventually make some stuff. I would be really surprised if Hot Toys doesn't make the Dark Sider that we've seen in the trailer and stuff with that really cool helmet. That just screams Hot Toys. I'm surprised Hasbro hasn't tried to come out with that helmet already. Like, I was very pleasantly surprised that they announced an Acolyte line of figures for the Black Series. Again, TVC got kind of screwed there. They only get Master Soul, but Black Series is getting like everyone you've pretty much seen besides Kel Naka, the Wookiee, in the main trailers. Which I'm sure Kel Naka will come soon anyway. That's a quick resculpt of a Chewbacca with a different head, just like they did with Chrysanthemum. But it's gonna that show is going to probably put in so much new stuff. I'm sure they're also holding back because there's just gonna be so many things with this series. But that's pretty much where most of the rest of this podcast is going to be on, due to the fact that, hey guys, surprise, surprise, there's a lot of discourse over the Acolyte. There's a lot. But before we get into the bad people who have bad opinions because they just want things to be bad, a lot of people have already gotten to see up to 4 episodes of the Acolyte. Disney and Star Wars recently had a big creators roundtable, which, hey, you know what? You guys keep liking and subscribing, and I'll be there one day and I can give you guys news. But Filoni and Leslie Hyland, the director of Acolyte, were both there. They conversated with this group of creators for a little while. Their great interviews have been coming out with Leslie here recently and stuff. And they got to see the first 4 episodes. And every review I've seen, I'm so stoked for this.
Anybody that's legit watched it so far, they're all been highly praised. I haven't really seen anything negative yet. So.
And to everyone who wants to say, well, of course they liked it, they're a huge Star Wars fan. Yeah, that's kind of the point. That's why we're gonna like it, because we're big Star Wars fans. It's not a shill thing to enjoy the thing that you enjoy, and then you enjoy it so much and you work so hard to get a following that the company that you enjoy is like, nah, come on, let's have a little get together. That's kind of what all of us want. And if you're complaining about it, it's just because you're jealous. I understand that. I was jealous too, but I'm going to use that to internalize as a fire and make better content to get to that round table one day.
It's funny too, because it's like, if I take this, like, you remove all the propaganda that's going against it and everything, and I describe what the show's to just the general mass, and I think 90% of people that watch Star Wars, even not like just watch Mandalorian, just watch like them, not even like you would say like hardcore fans, just fans that people just watch it. They would all say, I 100% want this. Especially even the old school guys that hated before Disney took over.
Which that's the other biggest thing, because Leslie got almost, she says in interviews, almost entirely, her favorite Star Wars is Legends. She has read all the books. She loves them with so much passion. And there is a lot of Legends, and KOTOR 1 and 2 is the inspiration for the Acolyte.
And specifically one of the best characters from KOTOR. She's in both, but...
Yeah, Darth Treya, a.k.a. Kreia, is a big influence on the Acolyte, because as we know in KOTOR 2, her whole plot is, well, the Force is actually in serving, or in pretty much forcing all of us to act on its will. So we're not free at all. We're doing the Force's biddings. And she's like, I'll get rid of the Force.
And without getting like super speculative yet, because we're about to.
Yeah.
I mean, we're dipping into hardcore Sith territory. We're dipping into ancient Sith territory. She could be mentioning stuff from the Old Republic. And it's just, a lot of it's just because there's some early misconceptions to do with the director and some of the actors. And yeah, it's just, I mean, it's a lot of light, a lot of Jedi. The secret Sith that we never really got fully in the movies. It's and there's intrigue, and it's mystery behind it all. It's just it's I don't know how to what to throw out at you more. Like,
you've
seen the thing is, it's like they're amazing, but people just want to trash it because.
And so many people love the clones, they love the troopers, they love those things, but like me and probably 90% of other Star Wars fans, lightsaber go burr, force powers are dope. Lightsaber wielders are some of that's the bread and butter of Star Wars, as much as the story behind it is, because that's just, man, it's always sold the best. It's always the crowd favorite, is to see Jedi and to see Darksiders and lightsaber battles.
And this is supposed to be darker too, so there's supposed to be more death and violence, which to me, that's one thing that I hate about some of the lightsaber combat. It's so like passive. It's just blade on blade. It's like, you just spinning blade, hit blade. Yeah, but where's the appendages flying off? So I doubt it's gonna go that far, but still, I want to see somebody get stabbed.
Yes, and die. if we're and die exactly, and stay dead. If we're using, especially with how many Asian choreographers and these people from these martial arts films and all of the other amazing stunt team that they've been building up and stuff, I'm expecting these fights to be brilliant. I mean, like what we saw in the trailer with May versus Inara. Like, that was a great fight with not even a lightsaber involved. It was a knife and all hand combat. And that was exactly what we want from a lot of these Force users. Because especially like the Jedi in the High Republic, they know, well, I'm not going to whip my lightsaber out the first chance I get. That this is a last resort weapon. I'm just going to do my kung fu thing, and it'll all be okay. So
I would say yes, and then also a little bit of no, because this is post all the horror that's been going on. So
Yeah,
they may be a little bit more violent than they are at the
true.
beginning of the High Republic. So I would honestly expect them to be more violent.
Hmm.
Um, because some of them, if they survived, which there are confirmed, there are characters that had survived. I would love to see them more traumatized and that they immediately go for that lightsaber. Where you might have some of the newer ones might go straight to force using, or like you
Hmm.
said, some of the hands on. Um, I would think it would make more sense,
Yeah.
honestly, that they would be more
And of
lightsaber.
course, I'm going to make a full video on everything you guys need to know about the Acolyte, and that'll come out here relatively soon as well. But do not forget the fact that we don't know exactly how the books are going to end yet, but we do know this is really not going to impact the Acolyte that much. We're not going to probably see the Nihil. We're definitely not going to see any Nameless and things like that, because that's just, it needs to be ended before that time period, or it would mess up everything behind it, and I know they're not going to do that. Literally, she says the only character you're going to see from the book, and I would think that would include the Nameless and villains, is going to be Vernestra Rowe in season 1.
Yeah, they should only maybe reference it occasionally. Like we haven't seen
But
something
even
like
that,
this
the
since the
only
fall of the Starlight Beak, something like that.
yes, the
Yeah.
Fall of Starlight Beacon would be a big one. The Nihil or the Drangir would be definitely, but I mean, everyone who's seen a Nameless pretty much just doesn't talk about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm talking about the major
Yes.
events.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they could reference the Nihil. They could, we could get a joking, oh, you're going to ride the storm. But it's going to be really
Well,
awesome because there's not this just crazy echo chamber of Star Wars
yeah.
blockage. Because again, we all love Star Wars. And a lot of people who make fan films make amazing fan films. But you can always kind of feel how much fan service and how much Easter eggs are put into those things. Versus like with Andor, because it was written by someone who, yes, enjoys Star Wars, but is not a fanatic by it. That's why those stories were so much different and they hit so much different. And that's why I'm so happy that the writers' room has people who, oh, we have someone who only likes the sequels really more than everything else. We have a prequel lover, we have a original lover, and we have a lot of people who have never even really watched Star Wars. They're here to write a story, not just be in a Star Wars project. And that's going to really separate, I think, Acolyte from a lot of the other lightsaber wielding shows.
Yeah.
And
Well, there's more freedom too, I think,
mm-hmm.
the most is they're not confined by such a short period of like bumping into certain characters.
Yeah.
Even though it is still in the High Republic and it's 100 years before episode 1, there's still a lot of unknown.
Mm-hmm.
The galaxy is still recovering from a major disaster,
Yeah.
even though, or the Republic, the way you want to look at it, is still recovering from that major disaster. They're still dealing with a lot of bureaucracies and other things. And it kind of shows how it leads into episode 1. But I don't want to see anything related to episode 1.
Right.
Um, I think it would just hinder it now. I don't think we're going to expect that at all, seeing what we've seen so
Yeah.
far.
And I like that this feels like such a closed story. Because, like, I don't
Yeah.
even think we're never probably even going to Coruscant. We're never going to see the Jedi Grand Council. Okay, we're going to go to Coruscant like a flashback because we've seen that. But we're not going to go talk to Yoda and Yariel Poof and, all the. Like, that's not the point of this.
We're not getting an Order 66, so there's that.
Yeah. Although I wouldn't be mad if they did, like, just a, like, Order 66 up, and you'd be like, oh, okay, that was
Well,
funny.
their version of Order 66 is Starlight Beacon, and we haven't seen anything from that, so if they
Yeah.
do a flashback of that, it'd be pretty sweet. But,
Oh,
yeah.
dude, if they do a Starlight Beacon flashlight, that'd be the most chaotic chaos that ever happened. Everyone's just blowing up, and everyone's just getting vacuumed into space. That was...
It'd be pretty. I mean, it's just insane to think it's the first time we're getting the High Republic in the main series, not counting because we've got it in the books, in the comics, and then we've gotten it in the Young Jedi.
Yep.
But most people don't watch or read any of that. When you look at like the general, like if you take the population of all the fans, the High Republic book series is not very popular, and most of them don't read books. That's the downside.
Yeah.
But so a lot of the people, this is going to be the first real taste of the High Republic. So I'm hoping, go into it, ignore what everyone say, just watch the show.
Yeah.
You don't like the show after the first couple episodes, then fine. You have an opinion.
Yep.
But the worst thing you can do is take these poor opinions and poor misinformation
Yeah.
about what's the truth of it is. Just watch it,
Yep.
and
Because
if you don't like it, don't watch it.
everybody is trying to clickbait the idea that the Acolyte, and by extension the High Republic, is the most wokest, only about non-binary POC. That's not it at all. Most of the three main Jedi that you follow in the High Republic, guess what? They look like me. I mean, like Jesus Christ. But the point of the High Republic is we are now in an age where the writing isn't so obvious. It's just in there. There's not a single character, just like I'm sure in the Acolyte, there's not going to be a single character where being gay is their entire fucking personality. That's it's just they might not even they'll never even mention it, hopefully, because that's not what's important. They barely mention it in the books. It's a passing just statement because someone will be like, oh no, I don't like girls, and then they move the fuck on.
You know, and the one big thing is that, you know, there's that big quote that just went around George Lucas. You see it a lot where it
Yeah.
talks about, is there, you know, your movie? What about your movies full of white men? He says, well, no, they're full of aliens,
Yeah.
and it's going to be the same way with this. They're going to full of, you know, women of color. No, they're going to be full of aliens.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of aliens because the galaxy is very big and has a lot of aliens in it.
And we're returning to more aliens in these shows,
Yeah.
especially getting away from the Empire, where arguably that's the reason why I don't see many, because the Empire doesn't hire many aliens. So we're going back to where there should be. They would be doing a disservice if every other character isn't human.
Right. And that makes sense when you look at it. I mean, and now they're going to be humanoid, but we're still getting Zabraks, we're getting Mirallan, like we're getting different shades of human.
Yeah.
But we're also getting a Keldor, like Plo Koon. We're getting Kelnaka, a Wookiee. We're getting all kinds of cool stuff. And the background aliens are always the most fun part. And that's another thing that I'm sure the Acolyte's going to do really well is just these amazing background scenes where people can just pause and like digest an entire background.
Well, that leads off to what I wanted to bring about with the, you know, the big backgrounds and the alien characters and stuff. Is one thing I saw a report of funding for the shows. Some of it might be a little bit higher. Hopefully, it's because they're paying their people properly, but also because we're having a more elaborate set design and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the smallest funding show we received out of live action was Obi-Wan. Total spent of 90 million for 8 episodes total.
That's got to be because they're paying Ewan and Hayden, right? Like Jesus.
Well, that's the lowest. That's the lowest.
I know. Oh god, that's crazy.
Ahsoka for another 8 episodes, it's the second lowest, is 100 million.
Oof.
The next step up is Book of Boba Fett, another 105 million for 7 episodes. So arguably they spent a bit more money on that because there's an episode less. So the average is a bit more. Mandalorian, they didn't give a more detailed, but each season has roughly been around 120 million per season. So first, second, third season, all roughly 120 million each.
Yeah.
And then the episodes, I believe, were they weren't consistent. I think that like 11, 10, 11, maybe less than that. I don't remember. And then Andor is the most so far, and probably is going to be the most for a long time, at 250 million for 12 episodes.
God, that like doubled almost for the show without any lightsabers.
Well, it's the first one. They didn't use the volume.
Okay.
And they did everything was shot.
Yeah.
And on scene, so they actually traveled to different locations, and they actually built a lot of the sets were full on. They weren't just like cardboard; they were or CGI. A lot of sets were full practical buildings and everything. Yeah. They actually built part of the city. So yeah, it was a big budget, but yeah, it went from 120 million as the Mandalorian to 250. But if you count, you know, Mandalorian all 3 seasons, yeah, you're gonna get 360. But I mean, that's like 30 episodes. So.
Right. Hey, if there were 3 seasons of Andor, I mean, it'd be hella expensive. And so, we know we are getting 1 more season. We knew we were getting 2, but yeah. We are definitely this next one's going to be.
Yeah, I don't see they'll keep doing them because of that budget. It's insane. I was surprised. I was like, "Is that right?" I had to double check. Acolyte, because they are not using the volume as much. I don't know if they're using it at all. I know they are doing a lot of practical effects, just like Andor, um, and practical scenes. A lot out. They are doing a lot of out of the volume.
Yeah.
So that cost them 180 million. So
Okay.
you can see and that's for 8 episodes. So you can see where we get roughly 100 million if it's in the volume,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're spending around closer to 200 if you're out of the volume. So you can see why the volume is so necessary for us to
Right.
get shows, but occasionally get shows that are out of the volume is nice as well because we
Yes.
get those elaborate sets, which you saw in Andor, the level of detail of not only just people in the background, but
Mm-hmm.
also just the setting
Yeah.
was all there. It was felt real because it was.
And that's the thing is why I don't understand when people want to immediately harp on this is just called Star Wars with a skin on it. It's like, what? This is just something with a Star Wars skin on top of it. What do you want and what are you talking about? Star Wars is literally this indie director's first big attempt at something, and it was weird as shit. The original movies have weird little
Yeah,
scenes and weird little background things.
there's a lot of sitting around and talking politically in the
Yeah.
even in the first movie. Yeah, there's a lot of slow. There's not a lot, the fast paced lightsaber combat didn't happen until pretty much episode two.
Yeah, pretty much.
Um, and then didn't really hit off to what people really liked until episode three, which we didn't, and there wasn't much for that. I mean, I think it's just people just have like these moments they remember,
Yeah.
and they think that's Star Wars, and they realize like maybe go back rewatch Star Wars. Like,
That's the thing is people want to imagine Star Wars is only it's pretty much you can literally like it's almost like tribal division. Were you a child during the originals? Were you a child during the prequels? Or were you a child during the sequels? And that defines how you look at Star Wars for a lot of Star Wars fans.
if you go back in episode A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, there's a lot of scenes where they're sitting around. Like Empire Strikes Back, there's the scenes where they're sitting around discussing what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about like the planning with with the generals and stuff like that. They're like, hey, this is there's talking. There's not as much action as
Mm-hmm.
you might think. I think you just maybe remembering those certain scenes that you liked. Don't realize that's not all of Star Wars. Yeah, you
Yeah.
may like it, but some people like more storytelling or more in depth world building,
Mm-hmm.
which I do. I love the small stuff. I love just the life of a person in Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I collected the goofy stuff as well as besides the helmets. I collect the chance cubes from episode one. I have the sabacc cards. I have yeah, just the little knickknacks. I like that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, those little world building things. The games they've made, the card games are so much fun, and
Yeah.
it makes the world just feel more alive. Hopefully, they'll come out with that other card game that we just got in the Bad Batch. That looked kind of fun too.
And
Um,
then also to keep in mind, also
mhm.
they did announce the Skeleton Crew of 8 episodes will have a budget of 136 million. So
So, I mean, and
probably
if
going to
it's
be more in the volume.
right, and it would make
But
sense if a lot of their
yeah,
filming is on a spaceship, pretty much.
yeah, we're probably going to see these larger budgets
They
as they
really haven't shown
with
us.
Hollywood.
They haven't shown us almost anything for Skeleton Crew, really, have they?
No, the only trailer
Hmm.
we've gotten was not
A little
officially
teaser.
announced, which was done at the convention last year. I think it's the only thing we really have gotten. I didn't hear anything shown at
Yeah,
during May 4th.
and nothing for
So
Skeleton Crew is like Kiadi Mundi. It just will all of a sudden appear one day and we'll be like, oh, there it is. Oh, wow, cool. That Kiadi Mundi action figure
so,
was like no pre-orders. It's never gonna just show up on site until it's available. And then there were pre-orders here, and they would
well,
disappear, and then come
we
out.
got the only thing we close to got was a accidentally dropped early, which is the a toy or like a little
Oh, the little
brick.
metal thing. Yeah,
It has different characters on it from the show. So we're getting some more. We got a couple characters.
we got that little elephant guy.
Yeah, we got that. We got what looks like to be a droid. A We got a girl with like a visor.
Mm-hmm.
And then just other giant characters. And it looks like there's a couple of skulls in the background as well. So I don't know what that's about.
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing. Is like we know that there's children involved, and we know that the main actor is that one guy. I can never remember his name for some reason. Um, but we still have no idea what the actual premise. We have no idea what the actual like point of Skeleton Crew is going to be. We know like I know they go to Tatooine in one scene because we saw like that little teaser and they were in front of Jabba's palace. It looked like maybe. I don't even know what the time period is. Skywalker Saga, isn't it, for Skeleton Crew?
Yeah, I believe it's post. I thought it was post Skywalker.
I have no
I could be
idea.
wrong. I thought it was like pretty far in. But I
Yeah.
mean, supposedly, it won't matter because they're going to be lost in space the whole time. So.
Right. I would love that if the last thing we get in the Skywalker Saga doesn't mention a single fucking thing from the Skywalker Saga. I'd love that. Because again, Skywalker Saga has been amazing. These, like 25 years since the Phantom Menace and like all these other amazing things. Like it's going to forever be there. No one's taking away your movies. It's just we gotta go somewhere else and look at other timelines.
Yeah. And yeah, and everybody's hating on Disney Star Wars, and I don't really blame Disney so much for the
Right.
sequels, besides I guess who they allowed be the director, like changing up the directors and stuff like that, and letting it. I mean, they put so much into it, they gotta put it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the sequels probably were the one of the worst things we've gotten. Um,
And
but
when we say that, that's like that doesn't mean
yeah,
they're bad.
I'm not. I'm just saying comparison. It's like
exactly.
is it because there's so I don't know if it was like somebody's like. I mean, the first one really did feel like the new Star Trek equivalent of Star Wars, with so many like storylines that never got finished, and just things, and it's just things were done poorly in my opinion, and we've talked about this. So I'm not gonna beat that dead horse.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that everything coming out. I mean, we've gotten so much good stuff out with the Disney.
Yeah.
And Disney's done well about putting people in charge that know what they're doing. Um, which we've talked about that as well. When they did well with what we saw with the Mandalorian, and Ahsoka was a good show, and Andor and everything else. So they definitely improved since those movies came out too. So that's one thing we got to look at as well.
I mean, strangely enough, right after the 3 sequel movies came out versus today, I feel very different about them because of all the supplemental stuff that came out after those 3 movies that clear up the muddy waters here and there. Now I'm like, oh, this makes so much more sense now. But
also, you got to think about like Return of Daisy Ridley. She's gotten a lot more experience acting too.
Yeah.
She's gonna come back a lot better. I'm not saying she was bad. She was still pretty new at it, and so she's gonna come back as a veteran actress. She's going to do a lot better. We're gonna have a lot more experienced writers if they use them. Hopefully, they use what they have.
Yeah.
Like you said, when Rise of Skywalker, between like Rise of Skywalker and the sequels have come out to what we have Star Wars current day, it's almost 9 day.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's the same Star Wars, and it kind of is, but it isn't.
Yeah.
So.
But that's the beautiful thing of it. And I know, like, also speaking about a recent George Lucas quote, which of course people are grabbing and they're fucking running right into a brick wall with. He speaks about like, oh, well, I don't dislike any of the movies more than any other ones. They're all like my children. He said that many times. You might have one kid you like a little bit better than the other for moments from here to there, but like, he loves all of them. They are his children. They are his little babies. But even he did say after he won a recent award that the Force, no one really gets it. They had a few ideas, but they kind of filtered off into nothing, and then they ran with something else. If George Lucas hated what was happening, I don't think he's the kind of person who wouldn't say that. Yeah, he's a big shareholder in Disney, but that doesn't mean that he's like, well, I just won't ever say anything bad about Disney ever. No, if he really hated what they were doing, he would have said something, or you'd never see him again.
Or pull up the quotes he talked about his previous movies with Star Wars.
Dude, listen to him talk about the original movies. He's like, yeah, I could have done so much better.
There's a lot of things he hated, hence the overcorrection with the CGI.
Yeah. There's a reason.
Didn't like.
Yeah, that's why the new, like, if you watch the brand new Star Wars versus the original release, He did not like the original release of Star Wars. He didn't enjoy that movie. It was not what he had envisioned.
Honestly, if we had the sequels through George Lucas, I don't know if it would have been any better.
Right. Because, I mean, everyone's like,
better,
no,
but...
George Lucas is the king. I remember The Phantom Menace quite clearly, and y'all would have crucified Ahmed Best if you had the chance. For being Jar Jar. And guess
I mean, he pretty much
who wrote Jar Jar?
He's just lucky he didn't have the internet at the time.
It wasn't as severely fucking massive and everywhere and in your face, smartphones. Yes. Yeah.
Well, social media, I guess, is the better thing. If he had social media, man...
Oh, it would have been horrific. Thankfully, he knows that the people who have grown up with Star Wars still love the shit out of Jar Jar and the Phantom Menace, and I love how stupid some of those random little scenes are, and not in a bad stupid, just like a what the heck? Who would have thought that's a good idea?
I'm not the person to talk to about how you hate Jar Jar. I've been staring at. There's somebody that's within my range has been selling a life-size statue of Jar Jar Binks, and I've been so close to buying it.
Oh
every time.
man,
like,
yeah,
it's 0,000. I can't buy it. So, but if I did, I'd buy it. I'd immediately buy it.
Hey, Mike, if I win the lottery randomly, we're getting Jar Jar, okay? Because that's got to happen.
Yeah, I'll have to send you the link. I never send it to you. But there's one that keeps showing up on my Facebook.
Dude, that'd be so amazing, a life-size Jar Jar Binks statue.
I'd stick it right there, and it'd be in every podcast.
Exactly. So, and that's one of the biggest things I think with this is people are always going to be terrified of something they love getting a new edition because you don't want the thing you love to be ruined, but that's stupid. How can your love of something, how can your memories ever be ruined by something that is not you? That's it. George Lucas might not enjoy the way everything has gone. I bet a lot of people bring out J.R.R. Tolkien from the fucking crypt and tell him about the Silmarillion, and he'd probably hate some of it. He'd probably be like, what the heck was that? What are these elves doing over here now?
Or you tell him about the live action movie.
Right. It'd be a thing
There's
of like
so much stuff that he got. The movie, I mean, the movie's amazing, but it's a lot different from the book that didn't carry over. There's a lot of changes, and
so it
happens.
Yeah, if we had gotten the original script of Star Wars, it would have been the most wokiest woke trash ever because Starkiller was a female first. Luke was not meant to be a male.
At the time, it was pretty woke.
Yeah, exactly. You had a strong female that didn't care and stuff. You had, Lando.
There wasn't actually somebody in distress that.
Yeah, exactly. Managed to save herself no problem.
Immediately. Well, she took charge immediately, and she pretty much ran the show for the rest of the movie. But yeah, we've kind of ran a different direction. What's the speculation? What do you expect to see? Episode 1. What do you think might happen?
So I feel like episode 1's going to be a nice, lovely setup of. It's going to give us who May is. It's going to give us maybe why she leaves the Order and becomes this like assassin. And it's going to start leading us in. It's going to make her still seem like probably the bad guy.
Yeah.
As these other Jedi are trying to figure out what's going on, apparently on this planet in the middle of bloody nowhere. I don't even think we're going to flashback till like episode 2 or 3. This is going to be a hardcore setting up of.
Yeah, I think we're already going to get her in full assassin mode. And
yeah.
Maybe she's in the midst of a job and maybe you see her pulling getting orders for a new job or something, and it just happens. And then when she sees her former master, I think it's her. I don't know.
Yes.
I think it's her former master.
Yeah, Soul.
They're gonna probably do some flashbacks.
Yep.
Then. Now, I'm always wrong.
If we get dark side lore in the first episode, then this whole series is going to be amazing. It's just going to keep ramping up from there. Oh my gosh. I'm not expecting a lot of dark side lore in this first episode, but then at the same time, I have no idea because everyone's saying, no, there's a lot. There is a lot of lore.
How quickly do you think they're going to drop Darth Teeth? I don't know.
Darth Chomper. I think Darth Dentist will probably pop up around like episode 4.
He's got to be pretty early, right? Just to keep people in, right? They can't just. I can't.
He's not going to be the season finale. Show up for 3 seconds and then be gone. I don't see that. They
showed him in the trailer, so we know he's going to be there.
Yeah.
they got to put them in early just to keep the crowd going.
And not to
'Cause,
mention, we're eventually going to find out May's probably not actually the bad guy of this series.
yeah, I'm
So
pretty
I'm
sure.
expecting episode 1
If
setup.
anything,
Episode 2 is going to be more conflict between like Soul and May, and then episode 3 is
yeah.
going to be everyone working together to stop this actual bad guy.
If anything, one of the characters that joined the dark side, if there is,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's gonna be her. I think it's
Right.
gonna be one of the Jedi,
Yeah.
like the full-on Jedi.
That would be awesome. Because then that's the thing is that all we know is that May is being accosted or at least assumed to be killing Jedi. What if this Jedi wasn't a good Jedi? And that's why she did it. Like, that could be the thing. She could be taking down a dark Jedi. We don't know. And that's the beauty of it. I'm so happy to have, like, a nice skeleton to build off of. But I don't know any meat. There's no flesh to it yet in a good way. Like, I know the premise. I know it's going to be a dark murder mystery kind of thing.
Yeah, I like the idea of a murder mystery type thing, where like just kind of intrigue.
Mm-hmm. You'll never know who to really trust at the end of the episode.
I don't think we've really gotten that as the full premise of a show yet. It's a full-on mystery kind of, just the whole show.
Right.
Most of it's just been, I don't know, we just been kind of just getting a general story for all these shows so far.
Yep.
So this will be a bit different. I know we were expecting something more of a spy thriller with Andor, and when we didn't get too much of that. I hope we get more of that with season 2. Now that he kind of is a spy.
Well, especially with the jumps. From what the lady who plays Bix was saying, there's gonna be like 3 episodes and then like a year jump, and then 3 episodes and then a year jump. So it'll take you up right to Rogue One.
Well, at the end of it, he talks about that he gets full on accepted under, you know, the rebellion.
Yeah.
So that we might get more of that with the second season. That's what we were originally expecting. So I'm hoping we get more of that in this one, because I don't think they've even talked about doing a follow-up season for this one. And that's my hope. Is I hope they take a leaf from the books, or an idea from the books, where if they do a second season of the show, I want it to be a different time. And the High Republic either go farther back in time or a period jump. Just how the books, the second series actually went back in time. I think that'd be pretty cool. Instead of the end of the High Republic, maybe go at the very beginning of the High Republic.
Right, and just show off all of it. Because the High Republic books, again, it's kind of just like in the middle, or towards the end ish. But it's a 500-year span of time, and Acolyte is 132. Phantom Menace is at 32 BBY. Acolyte is at 132, and most of the books take place around like 300 something. So it's like there's still plenty. There's a good like 100 years or so before all of this, where we see into the High Republic, and then there's the ungodly, like 20,000 years of old. Which I hope they break that up. I would be fine if they like even broke that up. Okay, the Old Republic is too big. We're actually
the thing too is these are periods in time. They don't go back to back. It's not like the Old Republic immediately goes in the High Republic. There's a period of time where there wasn't like I guess the Central Republic going on, so they don't call it a period in time. So there is a null period between, and I don't remember the period. I think it's several hundred years. So even if they did go to the beginning of the High Republic, we're not going to see any Old Republic things.
Yeah. The most they would do is probably just be like I could see the starting of the High Republic being a few like 50, 60 years after the last Sith has been dealt with.
Yeah.
And they've been wiped out. And then you're like, oh my God, it's a renaissance of the Republic. There are no bad guys. We have one. There is peace. Like, that'd be a cool series too. Just like the Republic builds. And we just see all these young Jedi who have just gotten out of a horrible war.
Of the Jedi Order about going back to being peace.
Yeah.
And not being, because most of the time, at least middle, I don't know. There's a lot of periods that they classify because the Mandalorian Jedi War and stuff like that.
Yeah. Surprisingly enough, if you look through the history of the Jedi, haven't been really big peacekeepers. They've been really good warriors, but they haven't really been peacekeepers.
And that's the cool thing with the High Republic is they're the closest I think they've been to peacekeepers.
That is the height of the Jedi Order, because they are literally just out on random planets saving people who can't save themselves.
and that's what and that's kind of it needed to happen because they talk about that in the movies and stuff
Mm-hmm.
about them being peacekeepers of the galaxies, and they work as diplomats at the beginning, and they kind of do it during the Clone Wars, but
Yeah.
they're they're full on military, um,
Yeah,
which
I highly recommend again The Living Force by John Jackson Miller. It's a fun one because it takes place a few years before Phantom Menace, so we're still kind of getting this
yeah.
like sense of Jedi who are just like the whole point of this book is Qui-Gon goes into the council and says, "We're not helping nobodies. We're only helping the Republic." And there's a difference. And there is. And the Jedi, literally Mace Windu and all of them like, "Oh man, he's right. When was the last time we left our ivory castle and got dirty in the streets?" Because that's what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be helping communities build houses, find wells, stop marauders from taking all their food peacefully. What's wrong with the marauders? Well, what do you guys need? You obviously need something or you wouldn't be stealing food. How can we help you?
Well, if you think about the beginning of episode one, they are ambassadors for the
Yeah,
Republic, um,
for a trade
going on,
federation dispute.
yeah, going with the Trade Federation, trying to, because the Naboo is part of the Republic as well, so they're
Mm,
trying to stop this dispute from continuing on. But this was more of a highbrow because they're fully ambassador between a planet and a multi-planet corporation,
yeah.
essentially.
And honestly, had Sidious not been in the ears of the Nemoidians, they would not have cared that two Jedi showed up to do this because that would have been commonplace.
They wouldn't have done it in the first place, but yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't have done it in the first place, but yes.
It was a dumb idea, and they knew it to begin with. Because one thing we realized, and we don't, and they, I guess they made it a fact, is in the Boo are actually like, um, they make a lot of high end like equipment.
Mhm.
Their starfighters and
I think it's where the Santekas are
what
from, or they usually live on Naboo a lot.
their starfighters and their blasters are pretty big deal.
Yeah, yeah. Naboo is a very popular planet for the upper crust of society, and there's everything that comes out of there. It's like the Italy for fashion of Star Wars, where everything is primo. It's the Ferrari, it's the Lamborghini, it's the Coach, it's the
That's
Gucci.
it's how I'm trying to think the planet where Leia was from.
Oh
That's
yeah.
how it was supposed to be.
Oh, I wanted to say Bespin for a sec. Alderaan.
Alderaan was supposed to be more like Cayenne, but they kind of
Yeah.
changed it to more of like a medieval feudal
Hmm.
ish, where it's like a bunch of castles and stuff. It's still high end, but not in the level where, because like Naboo, it's like a beautiful paradise
Yeah.
where like, well, at least what Thebes is, where it was pretty much what we see. But
Well, yeah, and then that's the beautiful thing again about how the High Republic is gonna handle this is we're gonna see these Jedi not coming in attempting to just smash out any problem. They're like, well, no, we want to get to why there's a problem. Why did the problem start? And that's going to be that murder mystery thing. They're not going to be just like using the Force to read people's minds and be like, mind trick, tell me what you know. Which they do that in the show, but it's going to be a lot of like, we're just trying to find out what's wrong. But
yeah,
that's another reason why I'm so happy with what Leslie has been talking about. Star Wars has always been about the little guy versus the Institute. The
yeah.
Institute and the Acolyte is the Jedi. They're
There's
the bad
no
guys.
possible way they can have stormtroopers. No possible way they can have Order 66.
Mm-hmm.
No possible way they can have battle droids.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just, well, at least the B ones.
Yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
we're getting something completely different. It seems like our bad guy isn't going to be like always there. There isn't going to be this I mean, it could be, but it doesn't seem like we're getting cannon fodder like we do with stormtroopers and
Right.
B1s.
Well, the other big thing too
Yeah,
is with this Sith is it doesn't go okay again. It doesn't go against canon. No, it doesn't go against canon whatsoever. If you think it does, I don't know where you're getting that from. But Kiadi Mundi said that the Sith had been extinct for over 1,000 years. Yeah, and ask Yoda about the Nameless and see what he says. He knows they exist, but he won't tell you they do. Like that's the
nameless
point of
there are
them.
not.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Planet X exists. It does not. What's Planet X? Don't talk about it. Shut up. It's the only time he ever
Yeah,
talks correctly. He gets flustered.
yeah, yeah, it's Yeah, I don't know. It's something different, and that's
Hmm.
I think the biggest thing. We're getting a ton of Jedi, getting new Sith. I hope the Sith. I hope the whole season when we see the Sith, I hope he just destroys the Jedi every time they fight him.
Yes, because
I
that's
would,
going to lead
cause
into why. Like, it's like the same thing. Like Qui-Gon shows up and obviously knows what a Sith Lord is. So
yeah,
like, they had to have had like maybe a rumor of maybe seeing one.
but they haven't like during the High Republic. The most they've been fighting were like these terrorist bandit people.
Yeah,
Like they weren't fighting conventionally. There was no
yep.
conventional fighting, so they
There is
adapted to that way of fighting.
there's only one mention of a High Republic Darksider, and he was before the time even. There's Darth Krall, and they only talk about him because of the Drain Gear. He's not actually involved whatsoever, and he's dead by the time of the High Republic. He's one of the Lost 99. Like it's just
Yeah. So, yeah, they everything was unconventional, so they haven't fought like a full lightsaber duel other than practice
yep.
duels.
And if this guy shows
Um,
up trying to kill these Jedi, they won't stand a
yeah,
chance.
I want to see them when they fight the Jedi not follow through because they're so used to practice
Mm-hmm.
dueling. They're so used to not, like they're holding the lightsaber out, like, all right, yield, and then
Yeah,
he just slices them. It's like
exactly.
yield that.
No, yeah, I'm expecting the first encounter, which they kind of maybe that's not the first. I don't think that's the first one we saw in the trailer. That
Yeah.
them all standing there like this. I think the first encounter they're going to come with that guy is going to be a very like Darth Maul assassin like, where there's going to be like, what's that weird feeling in the Force? I feel something dark, and then like they're just going to start getting picked off or something. Like it's not going to be
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, I hope they really do that with the combat. I hope they really like train them at least the beginning to fight like
Hmm.
they're still dual practice fighting because
Right.
it's way different than fighting for your life.
Yes.
And I
Like
want to see
especially a
them
young
like hold the
Padawan.
lightsaber out
Hmm.
and tell him to yield, like yield, this is over, and lifts his lightsaber up, and then he just stabs him.
Right.
That'd
Because
be
that's exactly
so.
what they would do.
That'd be so awesome.
Exactly my thought is if they're standing over this guy, they're not going to do the final blow. They're going to deactivate their lightsaber and be like, "You've been beaten. Stand down." And he's just going to look at him and go, "Okay," and just choke
Because
him
even
or
that,
stab
like,
him.
because every time you see like in the later Star Wars, the Jedi killing, that's always like leading to the dark side. So
Yes.
they don't want to kill.
Yeah,
So
that is their fall, and that's like
yeah,
specifically why Palpatine makes them go up against a droid army, so they don't think about it as much, even though they are getting desensitized to it.
yeah.
In the High Republic, they're not desensitized at all. They would not want to kill anyone,
Oh,
even
they'll some of them will be somewhat because, like I said, they are
yes.
coming back from this unconventional war, where they're using gas, um,
Well, if it's
every
been a
trick of the
hundred, it's
book.
been about 100 something years between Phase 3 and here. So I could also like the human Jedi. They're not going to have any idea about the Nihil. It's going to only be
But
the older
I'm
living
sure
species.
they'll
Because
teach
Vernesh,
about it.
you would think, but
Yeah,
the Jedi have made some questionable calls in their past.
yeah, that's true.
The Nameless killed a Jedi. They did. Speak about this. We will not. And I'm not on the Yoda hate train. I just think it's just that was just he was the Grand Master at the time, and he told everyone to not talk about it, and they just didn't talk about it. I could see that
Like,
happening here. I could see like one of these. The only one who escapes is one of the Padawans or something. And when he comes back to the Jedi Temple, and he's like, "Oh, I fought this guy, and he had a red light. He killed everybody." The Grand Masters are going to be like,
yeah, they would not believe it.
not at all. They'd be like, "I'm sorry you went through a traumatic experience.
I mean,
I know something did go through all of those Jedi and got rid of them all, but come on now."
well, they didn't believe Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan,
Right,
so when they talked about possibly the return of the Sith, and then when Obi-Wan told them the Sith return, they still didn't fully believe him.
right. Yeah, it's that's gonna be that thing is when you've
Yes,
gone through this High Republic of you are the epitome of peace and justice in the galaxy. They have reached their ideal. The Sith are extinct. They can focus on being helpers, and they've been doing that remarkably well for hundreds of years. So
yeah.
when they finally do come against another Darksider, they're not going to know how to deal with it.
It's funny if he was thinking better about this. I'm guessing he was trying to bring the Jedi involved, but if you think about it, if Maul didn't kill Qui-Gon, the
Hmm.
Jedi Council would have never believed the Sith returned.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of the major like proof. the Sith have returned, and they would have gotten involved with the
Mm-hmm.
clones. Sure, they probably would have done research about the clones, but they never would have like really like
Yeah.
okay, they
Well, that's the
exist,
thing. Yeah,
but yeah.
if the Jedi weren't scared of a Sith incursion and like the dark side rising, they wouldn't have okayed a clone army whatsoever. They would be like, nope, shut it down, get rid of them. That would have been a dark day for the clones. They would have all just been fucking boop. They would have just been deleted. But it's gonna be awesome because we're going to see this is the glimpse of what the Jedi were at their height, but they are still going into this wrong field of being the Republic warriors, being the Republic's pretty much spine to stand up when the Republic cannot.
Well, and for a Sith to be survive right now,
Mm-hmm.
he's got to be very dark and very, uh,
Mysterious, and that's going to be yeah,
mischievous.
that'll
He got to be
work,
secretive and
which will work perfectly in the murder mystery because he's going to want other people to think other people are doing this, not that person, not that Sith, that Darksider. Because if that Darksider gets found, well, there goes the whole plan of the Sith. If he is even a part of the main rule of two right now, and if he's not, that's even cooler to me. I would do a backflip of excitement if this guy's like, I don't follow the rule of two. That's stupid, and has like two other apprentices, and he's like, yeah, I'm just trying to bring back the Sith. Screw the rule of two. That's dumb.
yeah, I'm hoping I'm hoping that we get something really cool with this. I'm hoping it disrupts everything. I want to see
Mm-hmm.
people. How does this make sense? It doesn't make sense with the rule too. Good.
Exactly.
I want to see things get broken. I want to see a lot of things be written. I hope the Sith isn't human
Mm-hmm.
underneath the mask. If we see, honestly, if we see any kind of hint underneath the mask, I hope it's at the very end of the last episode. I
Yeah.
don't want the mask to come off immediately, unless there's like a really cool alien species. Because that mask, I'm sorry, it's cool, but the mouth part looks kind of silly.
And it sure as shit is not a moon. There's no way that's Higo Damas. That's not Plagueis because his head is way too short. It's
Yeah,
also not a
they
Biff.
have large heads. It doesn't fit, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that it's not Plagius. I
Yeah.
don't want to see Plagius. I'm
Right.
sorry. If we do Plagius, I want to be a different. I want it to be its own like show
Yeah.
or something. I don't. I don't want anything to do with Sidious. I'm sorry.
Right. Oh,
I know
yeah.
you want Plagius.
I'll take
Not you,
Plagueis.
just people
Yes.
in general wants Plagius.
Yeah.
I don't want anything related to Sidious. I'm
Mhm.
tired of seeing him.
Yep.
I want something different.
Yeah, that's my. I don't even want Tenebrae. Like I don't want
Yeah.
Sidious. I don't want Palpatine. I mean, Plagueis. I don't want Plagueis' master Tenebrae. I just want them to focus on the mystery. Like they could also just never really like the Sith could pretty much get away and they don't know who he is, and it just becomes a scary ghost story they tell younglings.
What they need to do in the next movie and the next with the Rey Skywalker, they need to
Mhm.
come out and say, "We were mistaken. You were misled to think that you are the daughter of or granddaughter of Palpatine, but you were not. You were mistaken. Just like Darth Vader originally thought he was impregnated by Sidious. It was another one of his lies.
Yeah.
I would like
Oh
Rey so much
yes.
more. One reason I don't like Rey is because she's related to Palpatine. I'm sorry. I hate that. I
Yep.
hate that fact.
Yep.
It ruins the character for me. I hope they come out and say, "Oh wait, this is our lost child. Your twin is." Well, I guess they did have this whole love scene with Ben, so maybe not. Um,
Ray
I don't know,
Nobody is
maybe do this.
still fine.
Oh yeah, no, but I don't care. Whatever you want to do. It would have made more sense with the beginning. If you go back and look at the first movie, it would have made more sense. She was the sister of Ben.
Mm-hmm.
um, because the way she knows the ship and everything, it would have made a lot more sense. But that's another conversation we've
Yeah.
had millions of times. But yeah, I don't want anything to do with Sidious. We've had plenty of them in the show. We don't need to see any more.
If Ray remains Sidious, which is also still it's also not going to burst my bubble too much, then her never mentioning that bloodline, never ever mentioning it, that's the best way to kill it and defeat it, in my opinion. She needs to just move on. Rey Skywalker, Rey, the Grand Master of the Jedi Order. That is it. The only time I need anyone to even remotely hint at a prophecy about Palpatine is the dawn of the Force. The Great Schism. If some dude in the Great Schism wants to talk about the Sithari, and like, no, the one that will destroy the Sith will actually rebuild us stronger. If people want to think that's Palpatine, cool. If people want to think it's Vader, cool. Bane? Alright, fine, whatever. But I have a lot of hope for the future of the dark side, especially with Rey's movies. And I hate Sidious so much, like all of you know with my videos. I fucking hate Sidious. But he is a Sith. To me, he's the truest Sithari. He was the last Dark Lord who was so corrupt and evil and maniacal and egotistical and selfish that he literally killed the Sith because he refused to give it up.
That's what my thing is like, I feel like he just got so in depth with the dark side. You start seeing his eyes turn to Sith eyes.
Mm-hmm.
We get the idea of Sith eyes, and then Sith corruption in general really started with him.
Mm-hmm.
The whole disfigured face thing originally, and is supposed to be, there's a little bit of consensus on that, but it's the dark side. That's deforming him, not people think, oh, it's the lightning. It's not the lightning. It's
apparently
the dark side.
A lot of people say that's pretty much what he looked like always anyway. Actually, he just hid it, and we've seen that before. We have Darksiders who have disgusting, horrendous bodies that underneath these suits, but their face is pristine because they keep it that way.
And I think the perception that came from, because the Sidious does say in front of the Senate that the Jedi attacked me and this is what happened to my face,
mm-hmm.
and he uses that as like proof. He survived the attack of the Jedi, but he's lying.
Yeah, if you've ever
what
seen,
he always looked like.
Even like when we see someone who gets electrocuted to pretty much death, look at Asajj. Does she look like that? No. She has blue veins you can kind of see in her face that look like lightning. It does not turn them into a butt forehead like monster.
Yeah. No, it's just him getting corrupted by the dark side, or already corrupted, and he just dropped his facade.
Exactly. So the last I will ever hear a mention of Sidious is that, he was the Sithari. He killed the Sith, destroyed them, but through the ashes they renewed, and now they're even more ferocious and crazy. Cool. I'll allow that. Bye. Throw him down another well. Fucking bring him back and just throw him down another shaft.
The closest thing I would also agree is if they did, the style of Tales of the Jedi, but also it's like maybe like or going off the Plagueis novel and kind of doing that. It would be cool to see that and stuff from that novel, but I just don't want to see too much of Sidious. As cool as it would be to see a lot from Plagueis, but
right, it's like the worst thing about Plagueis is he's attached to Sidious. And Sidious is not a bad villain. It's just been done. Oh my god, it's been done.
We've just gotten too much of him.
Like, that's the main problem I had with the Sidious returning thing. It wasn't that he did. It's that, didn't we already do that in the books? Wasn't that already the Legends thing? Why are we doing that again?
It's just silly. It's silly. They should have realized it was a silly storyline.
I liked Snoke so much better.
Yeah.
So
Snoke was an awesome concept. Would have been really cool if it turns out that he wasn't actually, it wasn't like a hologram, he was actually that large.
He was like 80 feet tall. Yeah. That would have been awesome. And that's the thing, is that they've seen our feedback. The writers, the directors, they've seen what we bitched and moaned about consecutively for years. They're not going to shoot themselves in the foot and repeat any of that. That's why Dave Filoni is in the position he's in, to make sure things flow forward. That's why when actors like Sam Witwer come into the acting studio and they tell the director, no, actually, we can't do that because that's not the lightsaber he would use. The directors never say, shut up and just do what I tell you. They go, oh, okay. So it wouldn't work continuity-wise. Which lightsaber should he have? Oh, he should have his Inquisitor lightsaber at the end of Solo, not his normal saber, because he's being hunted by the Empire now. Like, the fact that people like Sam and Ashley and like these people who are these characters can tell the higher ups, like, no, that doesn't flow with the character very well. And they listen. And that's what's going to save
Yeah.
the future of all Star Wars. Is everyone who is in these rooms is a collective unit now.
Well, and you think about everything we've been getting out, just seems like it's just gotten better and
Mm-hmm.
better with the writing. And I'm hoping that with the whole scene, the backgrounds, hoping they're taking that from that aspects from Andor.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they're taking some of the choreography ideas from Obi-Wan. Take the best aspects that you
Oh my
can.
god. If they can put the emotion from the Anakin talking to Obi-Wan scene in the Obi-Wan series into Acolyte, because that's like, if
I
they can,
doubt you're
if
gonna get that because you gotta stick. Some of that's from your nostalgia
100%, no,
that
100%.
covers that.
That's the thing. If they could top that scene,
It,
greatest Star Wars ever.
it'll be very difficult, like I said, because
Yeah.
there's emotion
It's a
from the
lot,
nostalgia
it's
that's
a lot of
really.
nostalgia bait. Oh man. And yeah, a lot of people wanted to complain about continuity there too, but I liked it. I don't give a shit. He said last time they met. Yeah, last time they met, you were a master and I was but the apprentice, and because he schooled him. Makes sense.
I just the thing about it too is like, when it kind of sucks because of timing
Mm-hmm.
and one thing I'm so glad about this, like, we got to bring in a big villain.
Yeah.
It's got to be Darth Vader or Sidious because of the timeline. It can't be some other Sith. Well, now we can.
Yep. Exactly.
Thank God. I love Darth Vader, but we can have other villains, iconic
Yep.
villains.
And that's what if you want to continue to live through the Skywalker saga, people, that's what the comics are for. That's what that's for. Because these are all these weird little short stories that don't need to impact anything and are connecting the dots. If you want more Darth Vader, read the Darth Vader comic.
Yeah.
It's really
okay for characters to keep their masks on.
yeah. And that's the other part. Yeah, like you said, hopefully this guy just will. He'll be dark and mysterious the entire time and never die and never be demasked, and everyone will be like, I have no idea what that was.
I was supposed to see Plo Koon like, oh yeah, we're supposed to take our mask off now, right?
We finally get to see what that
Have
looks
you
like.
seen what they look like? At least I don't know if it's canon. But
Yeah, I don't know if it's canon, but they have like a weird sideways mouth, and yeah.
well, no, it's like all like gross, and there's a predator underneath.
Exactly. That's what I was always envisioning when I saw them. And that Keldors have always been one of my favorite species. After that rebreather and the little like eye goggles they have to wear, it's such a cool design. So, thank you all so much for stopping by this week, guys. It's been an awesome time getting to just hash over the excitement. It's palpable. It's there. It's back. And that's always amazing with Star Wars, is how much excitement it brings for something that we all have watched thousands of hours of and played video games and read books and stuff. So the fact that we're still so excited about it, that means they're doing good. And let us know down in the comment section what you guys think. If you think it's the wokest piece of trash ever, go ahead and comment. I don't agree with you, but help the algorithm know that we are conversated with. So go right ahead, buddy. Tell me why I'm wrong. Please tell me why I'm wrong about the Acolyte.
Watch the first 3 episodes and tell me where the woke parts are.
Yeah, list them out. We'll talk about it. Let's go. I'm happy to do that. For the rest of us, we will have an amazing rest of our day, though. We will have an amazing rest of this week, and the Acolyte's going to be super stellar. Thank you all so much for stopping by, and always remember that the Force will serve you well.
May the Force be with you.